We continue to keep you up to date on top stories coming to us from all across the country right now. Jury deliberations beginning in the Jussie Smollett trial. We are going to be bringing in Fox 32's Dane Placco as we want to get the most up-to-date information. And Dane, right now, I'm sure a lot of people are wondering what's going on behind those closed doors.
Yeah, wouldn't we like to know? Well, the jury deliberation started a little after 3 o'clock this afternoon, Chicago time, but we just got word that the jury is going to be calling it a day and will be heading home shortly. Normally, they would work until about 8 o'clock in the evening, but apparently one of the jurors has a child who has a band performance tonight, a recital that he wants to attend. He talked to the judge about it earlier, and the judge said, yeah, we'll keep it a little bit of a shorter day. So the jury has been deliberating for a couple of hours, but we'll be heading home shortly and continue deliberations tomorrow morning. Now, actor Jussie Smollett and his family have decided not to hang around the courthouse waiting for the verdict. They left a little after 3 o'clock and got into a waiting car out in front of the Layton Criminal Courthouse. They didn't say anything to the media. And today was all about closing arguments. Each side talking about 2.5 hours to try to paint two very different portraits of this case. Lead defense attorney Nyenya Uche told jurors there's simply not enough evidence to find Smollett guilty. And he mocked the idea that Smollett would stage a fake racist and homophobic hate crime against himself, saying, quote, Jussie's been in Chicago for 5 years. He's dumb enough to go into Obama City and pretend there are Trump supporters running around in MAGA hats? Give me a break. Uche argued there was no smoking gun, only a bunch of suppositions. Quote, the entire prosecution is built like a house of cards, he told jurors. And we all know what happens to a house of cards when you apply a little pressure. It crumbles. But special prosecutors argued there's more than enough evidence to find Smollett guilty. Dan Webb accusing Smollett of tightening the rope around his own neck to make it look more dramatic and hammering on some of the logical inconsistencies in the defense theory. How would the brothers even know where Smollett would be at 2 a.m.? Webb asked the jury. That just doesn't make any sense. Webb ended his closing argument by saying, quote, I suggest to you the evidence in this case is way beyond reasonable doubt. In fact, it's overwhelming. Once again, the jury is calling it a day and will be coming back tomorrow morning to continue deliberations. They've only been at it for about 2 hours now.
And has there been any word, Dane, on how long we do expect them to have these deliberations underway? Obviously, they do have a lot of evidence that they'll have to discuss between each other.
Yeah, there was a lot of evidence presented in the case by both sides. Hard to say. I've covered a lot of trials in my years in the business, and I've learned the hard way. You never predict what a jury's going to do. So the theory, though, if you talk to criminal defense attorneys, is the longer a jury takes, the more likely it's going to be a not guilty verdict. And again, it's too early to say that they're taking a long time. In this case, they've only been at it for a couple of hours.
And finally, I just want to ask about the closing arguments. Was there anything that stood out for you from either side, you know, the defense team or even the prosecution?
You know what stuck out to me was the jury's reaction. I was watching the jurors as both sides, the special prosecutor and the defense attorneys, were arguing their closing arguments. And they were taking a lot of notes when Dan Webb, the special prosecutor, the lead special prosecutor, was talking. A lot of note taking for his 2 hours or so of talking to the jury. But when the defense team came up, they were as attentive, but they weren't taking as many notes. I don't know what you can necessarily read from that, but it appears they were taking more note of the prosecution argument than the defense argument.
That's their last opportunity to make that remarks, to make them sway in either direction if they weren't already kind of trying to decide. So we do appreciate you keeping us up to date, breaking it all down. Fox 32's Dane Placco joining us here on Live Now from Fox. Thanks so much, Dane, for keeping us up to date.